Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today's parole hearing is the aftermath of a truly haunting case. It involves stalking, arson, and the burning of a body to cover up the crime. The offender, now claiming to be a changed man, is seeking parole after serving 20 years of a 40-year sentence. Meanwhile, the victim's family shares their grief, urging the board to keep him behind bars. This emotional hearing brings raw pain, pleas for justice, and questions of redemption to the forefront.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Committee on Parole, and we are impaneled in Baton Rouge. Today on the panel to my left is Mr. Tillis, to my right is is there any staff members there in the room with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Sir, would you please state your name and your DOC number?
My name is Ahmad Beck, DOC 513456.
Mr. Beck, you have some people today in attendance, both in favor and opposition to your parole. I'm going to be reading some information to the record, and then we're going to ask you a question. You can start thinking about it of what puts you in prison and why should we consider early release. Ma'am, if you're staying in the room, do you mind introducing yourself? Staff member.
Lieutenant Melanie Woodson.
Okay, are you prepared to speak about this offender at the proper time? Are you going to speak about the offender?
She said, "Are you going to speak about the offender?" I can barely hear.
I'm just in a law library.
I can barely hear her too on here.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. So I find you, Mr. Beck, to be a first-class offender. You're currently serving a 40-year sentence for manslaughter. You have a parole eligibility date that passed March 2nd, 2024. You have a good term date of 5/30/2038 and a full term date of 3/1/2044. Does that sound correct according to what you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you had a chance to think about that question that I asked of why you're in prison and why we should provide you early release today?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you go ahead and provide that to us?
Okay, I'm in prison for the crime that I have committed, and I want to first let you know that I'm very remorseful for the crime that I committed, and I would like to apologize to the family and let them know that I'm very apologetic. And I would also like to apologize and say I'm sorry to the committee and to, to the community and to the family that was affected by my actions. And I believe that I've had over the 2 decades of being incarceration, I've 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 took time to reflect on my crime because I felt that it was more close to home, and every day it it hurts me to know that what I did, and I just bettered myself as far as I thought about long and hard of what I did. So I took time out and I thought about my mom, my daughter, and just the things that I missed out on, my kids, my grandkids that I have now. So I took the opportunity to get myself together. I got in anger management, I got in substance abuse, and I just took the things that was offered to me, the little things that I could get, and I used that to my ability to better myself, and I got my mind together mentally, spiritually, physically, and I've always tried to preach to the young guys in the system about women abuse, and I wanted my goal, one of my goals is to start a domestic violence awareness for men. I've never seen that done for men, as far as talking about it with men, to teaching men about how to respect women and just teach them the ins and outs. And I've made a little sheet of different subjects to touch on in that situation. So the jobs I've had too, I've had jobs as far as being administrative only, property. I've worked for the property room lady. I've worked in the infirmary. So I've took time out to just help out and give back that respect of women in the system. So I would like to have an opportunity, upon, if granted parole, I would do so much to try to help my family, because the majority of my family is consist of females, and then I have a daughter. She has two daughters. So I have two granddaughters that I would like to help her raise them, and I got a mother, a sister. They practically stay by themselves. So I would like to be there to give them security, safety, and provide for them. And the community. I believe too. I also believe too, through sports and fitness is a way too to show the youth, the younger guys, about respect. Because I believe, just of my 20 years of being incarcerated, I've I think the respect has gone from these young guys, and I believe that all they need is some support, and I've strived on that to try to teach through the football games of coaching, basketball of coaching, to try to help these youth. Because without structure, I mean, it's just is no way that our future of young men, is going to make it. They have to have support. They have to have structure, discipline. And I have a sheet I have made, and this is what, as a coach, I have I have made out. And every team I would pass it out to, my teams. It says, "Be a true leader on and off the court. Be disciplined." And these are the things that I've took for myself to learn, as far as that I did over the course of 20 years. So I'm trying to give it back to them. Listen, you have to listen. You have to stay focused, stay positive, maintain. And then I have knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and discipline are major keys to be successful. And then I also draw it up a plan for, I would like to be a part of the domestic violence awareness for the women, and be a speaker for them. And but these are the topics I have wrote on paper, as far as I would like to would be a key topics to discuss for men. Because I don't I don't I have never seen anything where they have a domestic violence awareness for just men. But I mean, women can show, because it's for everybody, but mainly to talk to the men and explain to them about domestic violence. So I have it would be explaining where we come from, as men, boys. We come from a woman, which women are queens. Okay, so then you would have teaching them about respect, communication, support, quality time, listening, as a man, being responsible, sacrifice to be sacrifice to succeed, positive mind, never give up, taking care of kids, be a good king, a supporter, a good provider, staying focused, educate, no, by any means necessary, no physical abuse, no verbal abuse, no mental abuse, moving on with life. And I just feel that, you know um I just feel that's my focus.
Well, it sounds like you've been very productive with thinking, and I appreciate that.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
at this time, we are going to allow, we have four people who wish to speak. Are some of them together? So one person speaking for both of them. Um, we'll go ahead and start with your mother. Ms. Beck, if you would like to make a statement to the panel.
Okay.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, go ahead.
How you doing? I'm Parthenia Beck, Ahmad's mother,
Huh?
and I have brought him up to be a respectable man. So where he went wrong, he had a lot of problems, but I forgave him. God has forgiven him, and I think he needs to be up for a parole because he listened. When I went to visit him, we cried together, and I forgave him. And he told me, he said, Mom, and I survived my 4th stage of lung cancer. And he told me, I didn't even know if I was going to be here to speak. But he told me, he said, Mama, I prayed to God for your life and for to take me. So he said, if God spared your life, I promise God that if I get out of here, I'm going to take care of you for the rest of your life. So, and I said, okay. And, I said, I just want to pray on it and that you get out and you do the right thing. I said, and if they ask you to jump, you say, how high? You go and do and get on your knees and pray. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Is that your sister?
Chalzetta. Yes.
We have two other people who would like to speak, the father and the daughter. Is it okay if I go ahead and let them speak?
Of course. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Your father, the offender's father, Matthew Beck, is wishing to speak. Go ahead, sir. You can just speak to us, sir. We see you. Can you hear me? Can you unmute? Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I'll speak.
Okay, and I can hear you. So if you'll go ahead and provide the statement.
Yes, I'll speak. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you unmute?
I did. I think I'm on the YouTube. Let me get off the YouTube.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I'll speak.
You need to get off of YouTube and talk directly.
Yes, I'll speak. Let me get off this YouTube. I think the YouTube is interfering with it. Let me get it off that YouTube.
Okay.
I'll still on YouTube. Let me get off the YouTube. Where's YouTube?
You need to get off of YouTube and talk directly.
Where?
I think that may be better.
Oh, shucks. Okay, I got out of this thing. God darn it.
Hear you. We can hear you if you'll go ahead and speak.
What
We
is
can
this
hear.
now?
We can't see. Go to the door. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we'll come back to you, sir. We're going to hear from the offender's daughter.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on the behalf of my father today. I'm here I'm here to support the release of my father, a man who has shown remorse, growth, and change during his time in prison. My daddy has been in prison for 20 years of my life, and I have nothing but great memories with my father. And that's time that I will never get back. Now that I do have children, I just pray every day that, my dad he can spend that time with my daughters, my son, and experience the same memories that I have as far as just picking them up from school or taking them to go get to McDonald's and go get that Happy Meal and teaching them how to ride a bike, being there for Christmas, opening up gifts. All the great memories that I have, I just wish that my kids could get that, and then just since I've been an adult and me and my dad have been talking a lot, and just here, like when we talk, like he's just a better person. And I just want to build our relationship again. Um, my father has, dedicated so much time, rehabilitation, education, self-improvement, numerous programs, educational, therapeutic, um, all this stuff demonstrating his commitment to becoming a better person. Um, and I just, our family misses him deeply. I miss him deeply. And I believe that his release will not only benefit us, but also the community. He's ready to read, and I just feel like he's ready to continue his journey to making a man. I just ask for your compassion and understanding and giving my dad a second chance.
Thank you. I appreciate you joining us. Is Mr. Beck able to get the technological issue straightened out?
I can speak on behalf of my dad, if that's okay.
That would be fine. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to speak on behalf of my dad. I'm Chalzetta Beck. I'm my mad sister, and I just want to say that
Yes, can you hear me?
yeah, so on behalf of my dad. Okay, I'll continue. Amarian Maloney, she's very correct. The memories that she has of her dad, they are amazing. Because Ahmad is a very he loves children. He always did. And he actually one of the main, and this is not any excuse, I just want to say the history of our family. He lost his son in a car accident before in 1999. And that was a devastating for our family and he really got on drugs, and I don't know, like I don't remember that we understood the seriousness of how far he was along with drugs, being and so that was a very dark part of his life, and for our family to lose that child, in the way, it was a shock, it was a experience. And that was one of the things that was really, really was dark for him. And it was a trauma. And he used drugs to cope. And I feel so bad about that. I think about that all the time because I remember when we lost the baby, his son, I had just had a baby and she was like 2 or 3 months, and I breathed. I couldn't even like be happy about my own child because I was just like, this is so sad, to lose the baby that way. But I'm saying that to say that he did love his children. And the last time I remember seeing him, he was with his son that passed away. So our family is very much, we love children. We love to be together. We do love holidays, spending together and just growing. And our grandfather, he was the patriarch of our family, and he made sure that we always were together for all the time. So we have a very close family, and and what I'm saying is that Ahmad has support. Like, he has a lot of love. He has accountability. Nobody is, we are so sorry for the loss of Chantal. And we are sorry for her. We know that we could never get her back, and that was a loss for us too. So and they had a son together, so we really, that was a big loss. So we don't
Wrap it
take
up.
that lightly. We don't take it lightly,
Okay. Thank you very much. If you'll, Mr. Beck, we have our 3 speakers in support.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter spoke, so let's go ahead and hear from Linda Davis, who is the victim's mother.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I'm given the opportunity to speak on behalf of my daughter. I always told my daughter if I ever had the chance to speak for her, I would. Time is supposed to heal all wounds and take away the pain. But in this case, I've been living with it every day. When Ahmad killed my daughter, which he admitted to, he just admitted to doing it. He was supposed to get life, but he accepted the 40 years, and he should do the 40 years. And in my opinion, the 40 years for taking my daughter is not enough time. He put a void in my family that will remain there forever. Then not only before he killed her, he stalked her. He aggravated my daughter's life. He would not leave Chantel alone. No matter where she went or what she did, he always showed up. He even tried to set her apartment on fire, which me and her children, which Ahmad was there, which is his son. He didn't mention Ahmad at all, but we do know that they share a son together, Ahmad Jr. He was there in the apartment. Her daughter was there, and I was too, and we almost all burned up. And we will continue mourning, forever mourn the losing of Chantel, because she was a light in our life that we missed. And he put that light out, and it will never be forgotten. And the damage he did to our life. He had the nerve to ride around with my daughter, my only daughter, in his car after he killed her. He pushed his son inside the house. He killed my daughter. Then when he burned my daughter up, he set my daughter on fire. She was only recognized by her teeth. And you think you should get out? 40 years. 40 years for what you done. You left a mother without a daughter. He left a brother without a sister. He left children without their mother. And his son right now is 23. And if Chantel was here, she would have 4 grandchildren, which she will never have a chance to see. Ahmad, you confessed to killing my daughter, so you have to pay for it. You have to suffer, because we all have consequences for everything that we do. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You have to speak to the board.
Okay, I'm trying to speak to the board. I'm sorry. I want the board to know, I'm so sorry. I want the board to know that at the time he confessed to killing my daughter, he was given 40 years. So on behalf of me and my family, we're gonna say that he accepts the responsibility for his actions by doing the 40 years. And that is all I have to say. We don't get holidays with her. We don't get birthdays with her. Her children have lost her. My daughter left here in a horrific way. There's nothing that we could do about it. But I'm asking board that he do the 40 years. And I do thank you for listening to me. And if I got sidetracked some, I deeply apologize for that. But I have a pain that will never, ever go away.
Davis, please don't think that I'm chiding you for, I understand your position. I'm just trying to keep the,
Yes, ma'am. I'm just so sorry, but
you did fine, and I appreciate
okay.
it.
All right, okay.
Great. Mr. Beck.
Yes, ma'am.
I am going to be asking you some questions. Is it correct you took living in balance in 2010
Yes, ma'am.
and anger management in 2010?
Yes, ma'am.
And what have you taken since then in classes?
I've also taken, I have them right here. I have living anger management right here, living in balance. And also in 2010, I've took American Heart Association First Aid. I've took American Heart Association AED. I have two pride certificates I took. I've got one in 2012, one in 2014. That's like prison rehabilitation through integrity, discipline, and education.
Okay, so let me just ask you, since
Yes.
2014, have you had any programs that provide good time days? Like I don't see anything.
Yeah,
Have you
well,
taken victim awareness? Just answer this. Have you taken victim awareness?
no, ma'am.
Have you taken any kind of trade or any certificates towards employment?
No, ma'am. But in those in those areas, by me having when I was at DOC in Angola and well mainly DOC, I had I took auto mechanic when I was in Angola, but the teacher had quit, so they had took us all out that class and gave us jobs. Then when I got the DCI, they kept putting me on a backlog list because they said by me having a 40-year sentence, they was taking the guys that have the three, the low tie was always on backlog lists.
You became parole eligible in 2021. It is very, very unusual for me to see someone who has been parole eligible for 3 years not have a significant program. Have you had pre-release?
No, ma'am. Well, I was at Winfield, and then they shipped the whole prison to Parish jail. So I went to Red River Parish. I was there for 5 years, and I've learned. I was trustee there for 5 years, so I've took on trades like job skill trades.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but you didn't have any rehabilitative programming. Let me ask another question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
lost 90 days of good time.
Yes,
When did that occur?
that happened in 2016.
And that was a 21E?
Yes, ma'am.
You have 4 of those. Okay. I'm just concerned about that rehabilitative programming. Sir, while right before this crime was committed, were you on a protective order? Did you violate a protective order when this crime was committed?
No, no, ma'am. I wasn't.
No, which you didn't have a protective order against you.
Oh, yeah. No, no.
To stay away from this victim.
I had a protected order on her at that time.
And why did you have a protective order against her?
Because at that time, me and her was going through a lot of things, and my sister at that time had felt it was best that I'll get a protected order on her, and that way I didn't have to go around her, or she didn't have to come around me.
But you still came around each other.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
If I'm reading your history, you have had 4 crimes of violence against a person. Not all of them may have been charged. You've been charged, but you may not have been convicted of any of those. But you have had 4 different arrests for crimes against a person.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure that all of that is on the record. What were you initially charged with in this particular crime?
In this particular crime, I was initially charged with second-degree murder.
Do you mind calling the question?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to have you answered asked some that I wanted to know. What happened? How did the fight begin?
She had came. It started. Okay. She had came by my house that morning, and I think that was like right after Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras was that Tuesday. I think she came by my house that Thursday, and she came and everything was cool. Well, I let her in. I had let her in, and so we was in we was inside the room, and everything was all right. And then she just kind of exploded on me about who I was talking to out there on Mardi Gras, out there at the parades, Mardi Gras Day. And at that time, I didn't want to hear it, so I was like, "Go ahead, go ahead." And then she started getting more a little louder verbally, so I was just ignoring her. She kept asking me who I was with, this and that, and I was explaining to her that, well, we not together, so it doesn't matter who I was with, like that. So she started getting a little more physically hitting on me, so I was like, go ahead, go ahead. So she started hitting me in my face. So when she started hitting me in my face, that's when I that's when I reacted, and I hit her, and we started fighting. So once we started once we started fighting, we wind up wrestling, and then we fell down to the floor. So when we fell down to the floor, she had bit me on my shoulder, on my left shoulder. She was biting me. I was on top of her, and she was biting me on my left shoulder. So I was trying to get her from off me. So I grabbed her by her throat. And as I'm grabbing her by her throat, she grabbed my private area. And as she grabbed my private area, she was squeezing. So as she was squeezing, I was squeezing, and I I didn't realize how hard I squeezed her. So I was squeezing her, and and then once I realized that she stopped squeezing me, it was too late. When I realized she had just stopped breathing, and I was like, "Come on, quit playing." All I remember is telling her, "Get up, come on, quit playing." And but see what y'all don't understand, and y'all don't realize, this is just not no this. Yes, I take full responsibility uh in my actions of what I did, and I also want the board to know that this is a person that, and you can ask my family, you can ask Miss Davis. I would have did anything, and I did any and everything. I did any and everything for her. So this is hard. This is hard for me too, because this is a person that I loved. That I love. When everybody was saying this, that, no, this is a person that I loved. So she had stopped breathing. And I mean, this is not like this, this is a person that meant something to me. She still do mean something to me. This is a person that I loved. I still love her. This is a person that, when even when in I mean, I just want to clear for the record and tell the truth. So that's what I'm doing. I'm speaking from my heart, no matter what I just it's been times that Miss Davis had then told me that Chantel can't come over here. Can you take her back in? Can you take her back in? And I said, well, she's done this, she's done that. No, and I've took her in. I've taken because I love her. I loved her then. I loved her now. I took her in. Miss Miss Davis asked me, could I take her back in, and I took her back in because I loved her. You know, so I was never just nasty with Chantel or mistreated Chantel. I love Chantel. I took care of Chantel. You know, and in my son, everybody will tell you, even Miss Davis, from the time of my junior was born to the time I come to jail, I took care of him. He was with me. I took care. I took care of him. The reason why he turned out the way he is because of me. The reason why everybody turned out the way because of me. And I just want a chance to make it right. That's all I do. I just want a chance to make. Davis, you know me. You know me.
No,
You
no,
know
no,
me.
sir.
You know my heart.
Okay, sir, you have to speak to us.
Huh? Oh,
This is
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
it's
I
okay.
apologize. I apologize.
The nature of some of these, this is the nature of some of these hearings, okay? And we
Mhm.
understand that. Ms. Stapleton, you have some questions.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I wanted to ask you, you had an aggravated assault in 1996. Who was that involving?
In
You remember?
1996.
Well, if that's too far back for you, how about 2003? Aggravated arson, violation of protective order, 2003.
That was well, that was for Miss Davis, Chantel Davis Carr.
Yeah. Is that when the murder occurred? Because
No, ma'am.
no, that was another time.
What that you said 2003?
Yeah, 2003. I have an arrest date of 2/20/2003, aggravated arson, 2 counts, violation of a protective order, and then a new protective order was issued. So if you violated it, it wasn't you against her, it was her against you.
2000.
2003. Doesn't ring a
Yes,
bell?
yes, ma'am.
What happened?
Uh,
Goes to what Ms. Davis was saying, that Chantel said that she was being stalked and different things like that. Does any of that come back to you?
yes, yes. In that situation,
Mhm.
if yeah, okay. So I had went by her house one day, and
Mhm. So it was a violation of the protective order. You went by our house, correct?
right, but at
You
that,
set her car on fire? Did you set her
ma'am,
car on fire?
yes, ma'am,
All right, so you went by our house in violation of a protective order and you set her car on fire, and that was in 2003 before her death, correct?
yes, ma'am. But that particular car at the time, that was really it was it. I set the car on fire
Yeah,
because basically I had caught her with somebody. So what I did was, out of anger, I set the car on fire, but the car was really in my name.
it doesn't matter. Let me ask you this. You violated the protective order. Let me ask you
Yes,
this
ma'am.
one. 8/14/2003, aggravated burglary and simple battery. What was that about? Did you break into her house?
Oh no, that wasn't her.
Who was that for aggravated burglary?
That was a friend of mine, somebody I knew. That was another person.
That was another person. You broke
Yes,
into
ma'am.
the house and
Yes,
then
ma'am.
simple battery. And then we come up to 3/2/2004. That was the arrest date for the first degree murder and simple arson.
Yes,
And that
ma'am.
brings us to where we are today. How old was your baby at that time? Ahmad Jr. How old was that child?
He was 3.
He was 3 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Old enough to remember a lot of this, wasn't he?
No, no, ma'am.
Well, I hope not, but a lot of
No,
kids do remember things that traumatize them. He doesn't speak of it though, so. And then I already heard what you said caused it. And then what you were talking about wanting to teach domestic violence. Well, like you said here in 2003, you were mad because she was with somebody else. She had a
right.
protective order out against you. And that's what goes wrong with this kind of thing. She had a protective order, you violated it, and then you set a car on fire. So that was all before her death, just months later. And
Yes, ma'am.
we see that kind of pattern in domestic violence where women end up dead. I said pretty often, I've been trying to think, and over the years, the women that I buried that were victims of domestic violence, they either told the man they were leaving, which inflamed him, and he didn't want to hear that, or they had already left and they were trying to stay away, and then they were being stalked, and he would be mad if she was with another man. And they would make statements like, the only way you're going to leave me is in a pine box. And they meant it. And it's true. And strangulation, that's the number one cause of death for domestic violence. Did you know that?
No, ma'am. I didn't
Strangulation.
know that. No, ma'am.
Sure is. So domestic violence, they have a booklet that you can contact, the Coalition on Domestic Violence, and there's a booklet that talks about the cycle of violence and all the things you mentioned, they're on that cycle. So
Okay.
it wouldn't be a bad thing for you to order that. And if you do want to talk to men about what they need not do, you would have that booklet and you can hand it out. And that
Okay.
wouldn't
Yes,
be a bad
because
thing. That'd be a good thing for men to talk about that.
right, because I do feel I feel through my experience
Yes.
that
Well, you're in good company. There's a lot of men because Louisiana pretty much leads the nation in deaths due to domestic violence. And we
yes,
stay
and I
between 1
think
and 5 since 2001. So you
yes,
probably
and
have a big audience on something like that. That's all my questions.
Mr. Beck, we've heard from you and your supporters and the victims. I think the panel is prepared to vote. I'm going to go ahead and start first. I believe that you need some more programming. I'm concerned about the lack of programming. Victim awareness and thinking for change are two that I am going to strongly suggest that you take prior to a request for a rehearing. Also, you have a history
can I
of
write that? Excuse me.
violence.
Can I write that down?
You'll
Right.
get it. You'll get a statement.
Okay.
And the fact that you violated protective orders and had a history of violence prior to this, and you haven't taken those things is why I'm voting to deny today. Mr. Tillis.
My vote is also to deny because of the nature of the crime. And I think you need some more programming and not enough time served.
And the statement to
Yes, I vote to deny based upon the nature of the crime, not enough time served, victim opposition, and the AG's office is opposed also.
Sir, today your request for parole has been denied. Thank you.
Can I say something? Man.
From the offender's pleas for redemption to the victim's family's unwavering demand for justice, that case is a stark example of how one act can ripple through lives, leaving scars that time alone cannot heal. What do you think? Does rehabilitation ever outweigh the gravity of such a crime? Or should accountability take precedence? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more gripping courtroom moments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next.